So you're thinking about franchising your business. Should you do it? We'll answer that question in this video, but before we do, I really want you to answer an important question, which is, do you really have what it takes to franchise your business? Now, while you're thinking about it, let's break down whether you should franchise your business, and could this be the answer to your biggest financial goals? If you're new here, my name is Tarek Johnson. I've owned multiple franchises all over the country, and every day I talk to people who are building franchise empires. Every week I sit down with founders of some of the most successful franchise systems, and I talk to franchise buyers and franchisees every day. Recently on the Franchise Empire show, I spoke to a friend of mine, Chris Connor. Now, Chris has been a part of helping brands like Auntie Anne's, Jimmy John's, and European Wax Center get franchised. So you'll get to hear some insights from Chris in this video. And as we go through this, if you come to the conclusion that you want to have a conversation with Chris on franchising your business specifically, then the link is down below to get in contact with him and schedule a call. Now, let's provide some context first and then answer the question. You see, every year over 20,000 franchise locations open up. Now, that may seem like a lot, but there are actually over 4,000 different franchise brands. So if you think about it, there are successful franchise brands in almost every industry that you can imagine. You've got pest control companies, you have automotive franchises like Meineke and Jiffy Lube, Pods is a franchise, Redbox Plus. You've got fencing companies, you got franchises that even clean up crime scenes. Now, I could go on and on. You name it, and you could probably find it in franchising. And according to the United States Census Bureau, 1 out of every 10 businesses is a franchise, and there are over 800,000 franchise businesses in the US. So I would say that franchising has proven itself to be the most proven business model in the world. And nowadays, with job satisfaction plummeting, the itch for people to be their own boss and own a business is stronger than ever. And for most people, the massive failure rate of starting a business from scratch is really enough of a deterrent to keep them stuck in the rat race. So the question for you is, should you franchise your business? And if you do, can you get rich doing it? Well, you can definitely get rich and build generational wealth. One thing that really stands out about franchising your business is the difference between how much you could sell your business for if it's a franchise versus if it's not a franchise. Check it out.
A typical business that's owner-operated might get valued at 2 to 5 times your earnings. So if you're netting $100,000, the maximum value is $500,000 if we're taking that ratio. Realistically, it's probably like $300,000, a 3 times multiple. Up until 5 years ago, the typical franchise system valuation was somewhere around 12 or 13 times earnings.
So instead of one day selling your business for $300,000, you could potentially grow it into an asset that instead sells for 1.2. And the higher your profits, the bigger the numbers get. So that's really interesting. But this is what got my ears really perked up.
In the last 3 years, we've had a dozen brands that have sold for right around $100 million or more. And part of that's driving it.
Aggregate or individually?
Individually, each one. And part of the reason that's happening is the ratio for how these are valued has gone up. Now it's probably closer to 19, 20 times earnings. So that same business where the guy is working his butt off in the day-to-day operations and he sells it, it's worth 3 times $100,000, $300,000. That $100,000 now at 20 times becomes a $2 million valuation. So part of it's the ratio.
Now we'll get back to the other part in just a minute, but first, you need to ask yourself if you have a business that can and should be franchised. I get emails often from people saying, hey, I want to start a franchise, not buy a franchise, but they want to start a franchise brand. Now, here's when it does not make sense. When your business is still just an idea. If your business is still an idea, and you haven't proven the concept yet or gotten successful, then there's no way you're gonna be able to franchise the business. I think it's great to have that as a goal and know that that's where you want to go eventually, but you've gotta prove first that that business model works. You've gotta start the business, have proof of concept, and be able to show that you can run the business profitably. Another time when it does not make sense to franchise your business is if your business really isn't generating enough profits. And if you got a business right now that's only generating $20, $30, $40, $50,000 in profits a year, then how can you expect someone else to put their life savings into that business as a franchise? It just doesn't really make sense. So the financial side of it really has to be there, and the opportunity for people to support themselves has to be there. And keep in mind that your profitability in your business must then be able to support royalties, because most of the people that are then buy a franchise from you, they're going to pay a 6 or 7% royalty, a couple percent of marketing fees. So typically they're going to be paying you around 10% of their sales. So can they be successful and profitable and get a return on their investment and pay you 10% of their sales? The other time when it doesn't make sense to franchise your business is if your business just doesn't have any systems and operations. If it's just fully dependent upon you and you pretty much do everything in your business, then it's not ready to be franchised yet. Now let's bring it back to what Chris says is why franchise brands can sell for $100 million.
The other part of it is that the systems that sell for that much usually have 100 or more locations. They've really tightened the model. They've proven that it duplicates. They've proven there's a market for it. They've developed some element of a brand recognition in their market. Almost every one of those, well, I would say every one of those was sold to a private equity group.
So basically, if you have a business that has a track record of sales and profitability and it can be duplicated, you could be onto something. But it all comes down to this.
That's really the number one financial qualifier that we're looking at. How much money does it take to get in? All in investment, the build out, the construction, the equipment, the marketing dollars, the franchise fee, and then your profitability, your revenue growth, year 1 through 3 through 5. How long does it take for them to see that money all paid back, where they see 100% return on that investment after factoring in all of the operational costs, including a manager?
So if the financial opportunity is there, then you probably have a business that can be franchised. But the rub in all of this is if you can and even want to do what it takes to build a franchise system. If you think employees can be challenging, well, imagine you have 100 people who are not your employees. They are essentially business partners because they've put up their life savings to open up your business, your idea. Having been a franchisee myself, I can tell you they're gonna have a lot of opinions on the way that you should do things or shouldn't. And you guys may not agree. So even if your business can be franchised, the question is, are you ready for that? Are you ready for the amount of time, effort, and energy it'll take? And the weight of knowing people are putting up their life savings counting on you to help them be successful. Now, there was a lot more to this conversation with Chris. We actually did an hour-long podcast together, which you can watch here. And if you want to schedule a call with Chris to talk about franchising your business, you can go ahead and click the link below. There's no cost and no obligation. I'll look forward to seeing you on the next one.